He kept a list of names no one remembered, and baked cakes for people the world forgot. Every town has someone who notices what the rest of us miss in our small town. That person was Mr. Rowan, the quiet baker with flour on his sleeves and a heart bigger than his tiny shop. People thought his life was simple, ordinary, but behind the counter, hidden away from sight, he kept a list. It was a list of forgotten birthdays. Rowan began this list years ago. He had a gentle ear and a quiet nature, and he would often overhear customers say things that broke his heart. Things like, "No one's celebrating me this year," or "My family's so far away now," or the one that stung the most, "It's just another day." And each time he heard words like these, he would reach for a small notepad and write down a name, quietly, carefully, never telling a single soul what he was doing. Then, in the cold, dark hours of the early morning, long before the sun even thought about rising, he would bake a small, perfect cake. He'd decorate it beautifully with swirls of frosting and delicate sugar work. And then, like a phantom in the night, he'd deliver it secretly to the person's doorstep. There was never a note, never a signature, just a silent offering of kindness. Some people in town whispered about a midnight baker, others dismissed it as a myth, a charming local legend, but through it all, Rowan never said a word. He just kept baking. One rainy afternoon, the little bell on his shop door chimed, announcing a new customer. It was a woman in her late 60s, wrapped tightly in a shawl against the damp chill. Her name was Mrs. Alden. She was a regular, but she rarely spoke, and a genuine smile from her was as rare as a sunny day in winter. Rowan always noticed the deep, lingering sadness in her eyes. As she paid for a loaf of bread, she whispered, almost to herself, "Today would have been my birthday. But it's just another lonely day." Her words hung in the air, heavy with unspoken grief. The moment she left, Rowan wrote her name down. That night, he worked longer than usual. He was meticulous. He made a soft vanilla cake with honey frosting. He remembered it was her favorite, from a single slice she'd bought months ago. He added sugared petals that looked like they were spun from moonlight and placed a single hopeful candle in the center. At 5 a.m., with the world still asleep, he placed the cake on her doorstep and walked away into the pre-dawn shadows. When Mrs. Alden opened her door later that morning to the gray, drizzly day, she gasped. There, on her worn welcome mat, sat a cake. It was beautiful, delicate. It felt like it was made just for her. Her hands trembled as she lifted the box. Tears, hot and surprising, filled her eyes. It wasn't just about the cake, it was the fact that someone remembered. For the first time in years, since her husband had passed, someone saw her. Someone remembered. She brought the cake inside, lit the single candle, and made a wish through her tears. And for the first time in what felt like a lifetime, she smiled, a real, genuine smile that reached her eyes. That small act of kindness was like a stone dropped into a still pond. Mrs. Alden told her neighbors, her voice full of wonder. The neighbors, moved by the story, told their friends. Soon, the entire town was buzzing with shared stories. "Wait, I once found a cake on my steps a few years ago." One person would say, "Me too. I thought it was a delivery mistake." Another would add, "Could it? Could it possibly be the same person?" The town began to piece the mystery together, connecting the dots of these anonymous acts of sweetness. One morning, fueled by curiosity and gratitude, a small group decided to follow the trail. The early morning flour dust, like a trail of breadcrumbs, left faint footprints leading straight to Rowan's bakery door. Rowan looked up from his kneading, his face a picture of confusion, as dozens of people gathered outside his shop. They weren't angry. Their faces were filled with a gentle awe. Mrs. Alden stepped forward, holding the now empty cake box like a treasure. "Why?" she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. Rowan, the quiet baker, just shrugged softly, a faint blush dusting his flour-covered cheeks. "Because everyone deserves to be remembered." The town didn't let his kindness go unnoticed. They decided to create a new tradition. They held a community celebration, not for a national holiday, but for Forgotten Birthdays Day. It was a day where everyone made a point to celebrate someone who might feel invisible, someone who might be a little lonely, and Rowan, the man who worked in silence and shadows, found himself surrounded by the warmth and light of the very people whose lives he had touched. He wasn't the midnight baker anymore. He was a friend. As the celebration wound down, Mrs. Alden approached him and gave him a gentle hug. "You didn't just bake me a cake," she said, her voice steady and clear. "You baked me a reason to smile again." In that moment, Rowan realized something profound. Kindness doesn't need to be loud. It doesn't need applause or recognition to change someone's life forever. Sometimes the quietest acts have the most powerful echo. A birthday isn't really about getting older. It's about the beautiful, simple gift of being remembered. And sometimes one simple act of kindness, one small cake on a lonely doorstep, can be enough too. Bring someone back to life. If this story touched your heart, please don't just scroll away. Share it so someone else out there can feel a little bit of this light too. Thanks for watching.